had nearly every piece in our hand, it's absolutely clear that it was the complete and original find that was packed in 39 in our museum. And so seeing the originals was overwhelming.
It is believed there are still hundreds of thousands of German treasures still hidden in Russia. The Schliemann and others will soon be displayed publicly, but there are no plans to return the works. It seems, even after 50 years, the bitter memories of World War II still remain. Even before the victorious Allies brought a premature end to Hitler's 1,000-year Reich, the plunder of the fatherland had begun. Great troves of art and gold were swept up in the wake of the advancing armies. But the real treasure lay amidst the broken remnants of Hitler's war machine. German technology had revolutionized warfare. Jet fighters and rocket-powered interceptors were among the most sought-after prizes. Between the Americans and British, no less than 12 specialized collection units had been organized to follow behind the Allied advance.
We were very much interested in getting the equipment and bringing it back to the United States as quickly as possible to Wright Field specifically, where they were designing American aircraft and could incorporate the technologies into our own design.
In March 1945, the Allied forces were poised for a final thrust into the heart of Germany and in reach of the so-called wonder weapons with which Hitler had vainly hoped to turn the tide of war. In April, General Karl Spaatz ordered Wright Field to form an intelligence section with the purpose of coordinating and retrieving prized war booty. The collection effort was called Project Lusty and was headed by an experienced Wright Field pilot and engineer, Colonel Harold Watson.
And they would race around, literally teams of 2 or 3 folks with a jeep running around to the German air bases trying to locate aircraft. Of course, they were also interested in documentation and getting a hold of technicians and the engineers where possible.
Within weeks of the German surrender, Watson had delegated the recovery of the world's first jet fighter, the Me-262, to an unsuspecting P-47 Thunderbolt pilot.
The first time I was introduced to the Me-262 program is when he brought in a little stack of papers and dumped them on the desk, and he says, draw some field gear, go down to Lechfeld, train the pilots and the crew chiefs to restore these airplanes to flying condition, and good luck. And he disappeared. I'm like, just a minute, Colonel, I don't know anything about jets. He's gone.
Lechfeld in southern Germany had been an operational Luftwaffe fighter base and a Messerschmitt test facility.
My mission at Lechfeld was to restore all of the Me-262s possible and to train the crew chiefs to service the airplane and train the pilots to fly them and ferry them out to Cherbourg.
Strobel had less than 2 weeks to get 10 of the jets airworthy and to check out 6 other American pilots.
We took an Me-262 that couldn't be restored. It had 2 working engines on it. We brought it up to the hangar and tethered it to the ground, and then we all took turns firing up right and left engines, testing the limits of that engine, and it was touchy. It was really touchy.
In early June 1945, Robert Strobel became the first American to solo in the Me-262, the most advanced combat airplane in the world.
It was beautiful in here. It was rapid, instant, and just effortless.
After landing, 2 of Strobel's pilots initiated what would become a special ritual for the group.
they both came over to me and said, well, you don't need these anymore. And they're taking the lapel insignias off my shirt. And they broke the props off and the propeller blades off and the insignia, and stuck the wings back on my shirt, both sides. And I thought that was one of the classiest touches I've ever seen. That was really beautiful piece of work. Everybody got them. Everybody went through the same ritual.
The 262s were closely examined by Wright field specialists. The airplane's advanced aerodynamics and propulsion were immediately apparent. Analysis of its 30mm cannon revealed the true lethality of the airplane and how, short of Hitler's interference, it could have altered the course of the war.
I became involved with the armament on the ME-262 while I was still in the armament laboratory, chief of the gun unit. Tech Intelligence came over and asked, would we test guns that they had acquired through Lusty and evaluate them. The projectile was really the remarkable thing. Huge volume, very thin-walled and full of high explosive, and a fuse in the nose. The Aberdeen Proving Ground documented this as being one of the outstanding ordnance achievements of World War II.
While Colonel Watson was crisscrossing Europe in a C-47 searching for war booty, within the former Reich, anything of technical or commercial importance, including people, became tribute for the victors.
The Russians, they just took everything. They had a giant vacuum cleaner. There were special units from the NKVD, which later became the KGB, assigned to Army units that as they entered cities where there were laboratories, research centers, or factories, to go in, make sure all the people stayed there, make sure every piece of paper was collected, make sure the machinery was marked to be pulled back into Russia.
Besides trophy brigades, there were specialists looking for scientists and technical materials, documents, space engineers. The people that we found that made guided missiles were brought back to Russia. At the time, it was a big secret.
Each side moved in to grab as much as it could, and many Army officers, intelligence people viewed the communists with great suspicion and wanted to keep as much out of their hands as possible.
Whenever we discovered any military material that had any intelligence used to us, such as a new weapon, a new weapon system, anything, we immediately took it out of the zone because we knew that the Russians were going to occupy that zone in a few weeks after the war was over. We did this at the V-2 rocket facility in Nordau. We took 50 carloads of V-2 rockets out. We took all the drawings, blueprints, everything to get our hands on. So there wasn't a rush to get anything out of that that had any military intelligence. We took it out before the Russians got there.
The V-2, the ultimate terror weapon, was the crown jewel in Hitler's treasure chest. Germany's top rocket scientist, Wernher von Braun, had already been delivered into American hands in early May in Bavaria.
Magnus von Braun, Wernher von Braun's younger brother, took a bicycle and he rode down the mountain, ran into a patrol, and told this incredulous 19-year-old private that we had the key engineers from the